Hi guys, Paul here at Radioshop Pickups in South Wales, and in this video I'm going to show you how to change acoustic guitar strings like a pro. Let's have a little look at what you'll need. Now I'm using a neck cradle, you'll see on the left of the screen here. If you don't have one of these to support the neck, then you can use a towel to put underneath your acoustic guitar body and then just use some cloths underneath the neck to support it. You'll need something for trimming your guitar strings, like these clippers here, and you'll need a string winder, which has, these are excellent really because they got a nice little handy attachment for levering up the bridge pins. If you don't have one of those, there's a little bit of a hack I'll go into a little bit later on using a ruler with a little bit of masking tape on it. You're going to need strings, and you're also going to need a guitar tuner or a tuner app, which you'll find available for nearly all phones. Now the first step that we're actually going to do is to loosen off the strings. So I'm starting here on string number 6, which is the low E, and I'm just loosening it off until, as you can see there, it's nice and loose. Do that on that first string and then move on to the next one and get them all into that place. Obviously I'm using a little bit of fast forward here. But with the string winder, it looks pretty quick too. That is actually normal speed. So you can get up to a good speed with a string winder. If you haven't got one of these, don't worry, you've just got a lot of work to do by hand instead. Now once you've got the strings all nice and loose, we're actually then going to trim them. So I trim them just after here, just somewhere not too close to the body. You don't want to mark the body with your clippers. We'll just get all of those strings off. And then we'll actually concentrate on the straggly end. You don't have to clip them, but it just makes it easier then to concentrate on getting these sort of little straggly ends out. And you can put those in the bin. So we get all of those off, and this is also a wonderful opportunity to clean the headstock, something you can't normally do with the strings on. Now obviously the rest of the strings now are just at the bottom end, and we now need to use the string winder to lever up the bridge pins, and it's easy to see where the opening is on the string winder head for you to actually just gently lever out those and then set them aside. Obviously you're going to have 6 bridge pins and you want to have 6 at the end as well, so keep them somewhere nice and safe. It's up to you, but you don't have to, but I like to put them in the same order so that I can put the same ones back in. Now again, if you don't have a string winder, then a nice little hack is to use a ruler. But to make sure you don't mark your bridge pins, just put a little bit of masking tape on there to actually lever them up against the other pin. That leaves you with a problem, which is how to do the last one. And what I like to do is put one of the pins back in sort of halfway, lever that one out, and then you should find that it's quite easy to remove them by hand. Again, this is another opportunity to give everything a clean. You can use polish if you want. There's various things out there to actually get your guitar shiny, but I just use a cloth. And especially concentrate on the understring area, which you can't normally clean. Now, here are the strings. I'm using some ones from Martin. They're just basically what was available in my local shop, and all of your string packets will all be labelled. Okay, so the 6th string, as you can see there, is the low E, going right through to the A, D, G, B, and E. And they're all labelled. So one of the biggest things that can go wrong is stringing something in the wrong order. You're very unlikely to do that with one of the thicker ones, but with the thinner ones, that can happen. So just make sure you keep them in, usually they come in the pack in the right order anyway, so just keep them in that order. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. I like to start with the lowest string. Getting the string ready by getting the right end, which is the ball end, ready to go under the bridge pin. On your bridge pin, you'll see that a little opening at the front of the bridge pin for allowing the string to come through. Make sure this is actually facing fully forward and not off to the side. So it should be pointing towards the headstock. Push your string down and make sure the string can't be pulled up, and then just push it nice and firmly into the body. It doesn't have to be too firmly, just nice and sort of hand firm. Now at this end, you're actually going to just slide the string through the capstan and just pull it through. And you don't want to pull it too tight. What I like to work on is a basis of having like a finger's length of looseness above the body. And I do this roughly for all the strings really. So around about a finger's length, as you can see, is enough slack. If you wound it in when it was actually tight, you would find problems later on. So we always put some slackness in. Now we start turning this, and we start turning the tuning head, and I'm going to show you one of the things you've got to do is make sure that we're stringing to the correct side of the capstan. And if you look here, we should actually be stringing to the right of the capstan if you're looking at the headstock, not to the left. Okay, so it's always to the inside of the headstock. Okay, and I'll show you a little bit later about how to do this correctly. You don't want to be on the outside, you want to be on the inside. Okay, so there we go in there, and we're actually stringing into the capstan. And I'm going to show you how to do a knot. Now this is what's known as a Z knot. I think it's the most stable thing that you can do. It's the most stable way you can tie to the capstan so that you don't get any tuning issues later. We just thread it through and then pull it in this way, in the opposite way to which it's actually been put through, making a kind of Z or Z if you're in the United States. Now that is going nowhere, okay? That's gonna give you the most stable tuning, and we'll do that for all the strings. Now use your finger to keep the string nice and low in the nut, making sure it goes into the correct slot. And here you can see it's the first slot for the low E. When you're actually sort of winding it on, you want each new wind to be going under the last wind, not above. You want it to be going underneath. And again, this leads to the best tuning stability. So taking care to make sure each wind goes under the last. Now, how much do you tighten it? Well, just until it's slightly firm and not flapping around on the rest of the body. Because we'll do the real tuning later. We're going to get all of the strings on first. Now, once we've done that knot correctly, and once we've actually tied it around the capstan correctly, we know it's not going to move. So I snip it quite close to the capstan, not too close that we're actually endangering breaking the rest of the string, but basically you've got to be a little bit careful because those are quite sharp ends now, and it's quite easy to come into contact with those when you're tuning up and things like that. So just be aware that the ends of all strings are nearly always sharp. Now we're going to tie the next one, the A string, so the fifth string. Again, tying our Z, wind that in. Again, just a little bit firm, not too tight. We're just going to get the strings on first and then worry about tuning later. Again, a finger's length of slackness to each string. And trimming the string down close to the capstan. A lot of people like to leave these trailing. I don't personally like the look of it. A lot of people also like to tie them into little circles, the excess string, but I don't do that myself. I just like it to look nice and neat. So we're actually going to concentrate on what is now the sort of harder part of the guitar, which is the other side. And again, if you look at the picture now, I'm just pointing to it, each string on this, what we call the bass side, these thicker strings, is going to the capstan to the right of it, if you're looking from the bottom of the guitar. Now, each string goes to the capstan on the inside of the headstock. I'm actually going to show you how to do it wrong. Some people, you go to guitars and they've been strung up like this, where it's going to the outside of the capstan, the side nearest to the tuning heads. This is wrong, and it leads to all sorts of problems. It's something you just want to avoid doing, really. It does lead to problems whereby the strings are touching the other capstans on the other strings. So the correct way is as follows, and you'll just see me here turning it and feeding the cap to the inside of the capstan. Again, doing our little Z tie, and this just ensures that it's just not going to slip. So we tune that in. Now on these strings especially, you'll probably need to use a finger to keep the string low so that each new wind will go underneath the last wind, and just start making a really nice pile of winds. Again, get it a little bit tight but not too tight. And in this video I'm just going to skip showing you stringing the B string and move on to the E string. We need to take a little bit of care of all the strings that you've put on. this is the most likely to break just by simple virtue of being the thinnest. So I like to put a tiny bit more slack here because I want to get more winds on. I'm going to tie the Z on again and start winding it in. I'm actually going to give about 1.5 fingers slackness over the body rather than just a finger. Once we've got that string on and everything's nice and firm, nothing's been tuned up to pitch yet, we're going to tidy up. And we're going to fire up our guitar tuner app. So I'm using the Peterson one, which a lot of people find quite hard to use because it's a strobe effect, but there are lots of sort of traditional, just needle style guitar tuner apps out there, usually for free. So I'm going to start again on the thickest string, and I'm just going to bring it up to pitch, which is E. The next one I'm going to bring up to A, and you just bring them roughly up to pitch, so close to being in pitch. The reason we're not going to get them exactly is because all of these strings now, they need to stretch. And that's what we're going to do now. Once we've got each of them up to pitch in E, A, D, G, B, E, we're then actually going to give them a stretch. Not too much. You don't need to go overboard. You don't need to come close to snapping the string or anything like that. You just want to give them a little bit of a firm stretch, a little bit of a firm pull, and just help them to stretch naturally so that they'll stay in tune. We're going to retune, and we're going to do that 3 times. We're going to stretch, retune, stretch, retune, stretch, retune. And then we should actually be able to do our final tuning. And as the last time we're going to do this, we're now actually going to concentrate on getting it absolutely perfectly in tune now, so we can start enjoying playing the guitar. So strike each string, and keep an eye on your tuner, and just make small micro adjustments to the tuning heads until it's perfectly in tune for each of the strings in turn. Now over the first few nights of playing, you'll actually notice a little bit of stretching, but that's absolutely normal because before long the strings will begin to settle each time you retune, and you'll have to do it less and less. And finally, we are ready to start enjoying our newly strung and beautiful sounding guitar. Enjoy! Thank you very much for watching our video, guys. Hope you found it useful. We'd love it if you get a chance to hit subscribe on our channel, Radioshop Pickups, where there's lots more how-to videos, and also you can see that what we do. We make guitar pickups for electric guitars. If you're not familiar with pickups, it's the #1 way in which you can improve the tone of your electric guitar. And all of ours are handmade and hand wound, as you can see in this video, in our small workshop in South Wales. We make lots of different types of pickups, single coils for Stratocasters, Telecasters, bass pickups, humbuckers, you name it. We'd love it if you get a chance to head over to the website radioshoppickups.com, and you can see here just some footage of us making the pickups, and there's lots more to see on social media as well. If you get a chance, head over to radioshoppickups.com, and you can see on our website the full range of what we do and little descriptions of how they change the sound of your guitar. And you can also check out our reviews page and see some links as well to videos of our pickups in action. Thanks for watching.